Kelly Davis, your host of the Untold Miracles podcast, and today we have a very special guest, my good friend Bill Engvall. I am so lucky to know Bill because I've worked with him at Children's Miracle Network hospitals probably for the last 15 years. He has been an amazing supporter of what we do to help kids treated at 170 children's hospitals across North America. One experience that we had together was Bill for some crazy reason, he wanted me to be his +1 on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. So Bill, welcome to the show.
Kelly, it's always great to hang out with you. Here we are in Hawaii and digging the sun and surf and raising money. It's a great combination.
Well, we are so grateful that you are hosting the Ace Hardware Golf Shootout. This is our 20th year. We're raising $2 million for Children's Miracle Network hospitals. And you've just been so gracious to help so many kids. So thank you for being here with us.
Oh, it's my honor. When we met you and you kind of told us what you did, and Gail and my wife and I, we decided a long time ago that if we ever got a chance to get back, it was going to be to kids, and stumbled upon the Children's Miracle Network, and it just seems to be a glove that fits really well, and we have a good time doing it.
Well, you've raised a lot of money, and I know you've done it in some fun ways. I wanted you to tell me about your experience doing the Family Feud.
Family Feud was a lot of fun. I think my son was more nervous about it than I was. We had done it once before, and he didn't get any questions right, so he finally, we got to do it again, and we put him in the fast money round, and he killed it. I mean, he did a great job, and it was always fun to raise money and have fun while you're doing it. That makes it even more fun.
Well, I know we got a really big check from you for that. I think it was around $30,000.
Yeah, it was a nice little check.
Thank you so much. But I have to go back to our experience on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. That was one of the most petrifying experiences of my life, being called on the stage as your lifeline, and I did not know the answer to the question. So take me back to that experience and the pressure. I mean, you're a stand-up comedian. You do this all the time, but you're on the stage answering these questions. What was that like?
Well, I think like anybody, when you sit at home and watch these game shows, you sit there and go, how do they not get that? That's so easy. But when the lights are going and the music's going and you got 4 answers and they all seem like they could be right, it gets a little nerve-wracking. Plus, you don't want to get on the show and like win nothing. We were up for the $64,000 question, and you and I both looked at each other and said we have no idea, and so we just took the $32,000 and ran.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing what we were able to raise for those kids that day, but there was a lot of stress involved.
Yeah, the look on your face when I called you, you were like, "Oh, here, no." Please.
I was in my seat praying that he would not have to use me as a lifeline, and one of the questions. Well, there were several that he thought about me, and he's like, she's not going to know the answer.
Yeah, I think one was...
There was a drinking question.
There was a drinking question. There was one about what's it called when country music and rap are combined. It was like... They really didn't go with my strong suits on that show.
So, Bill, this podcast talks about miracles.
Mm-hmm.
We want people to believe in miracles, but more importantly, be inspired to create miracles in the lives of those around them. And I don't know if people know this about you, but you grew up in Galveston, Texas. Mm-hmm. You wanted to be a school teacher.
Yep.
You were into heavy metal rock?
Yeah, I was into the hair band groups because I couldn't grow up myself, so I guess it was my secret wish to be in a hair band. So
you end up going from Galveston, Texas, and taking a big leap of faith and moving to California to start a career in stand-up comedy. Were there any miracles involved in your decision to make that move? Well,
I think probably one of the miracles is that Gail stayed with me through the whole thing. I mean, we moved to L.A. and she was 8 or 9 months pregnant. We rented a house that we couldn't afford. Everything that was stacked against us. But we stuck it out. We made the move, and now 34 years later, here we are. I've had a blessed career, blessed life. I think the way we really got into the raising money for kids was when our daughter was born. She was born with her spinal cord tethered to her spine. She had a little stalk on her back. You went from that moment of your first child being born and the elation, and the doctor saying, look, there may be an issue here. And you're like, wait, what? No, this can't be happening. I think she was 3 months old. We had to take her to Children's Hospital there in Los Angeles at UCLA. I was talking to the doctor, and I said, so, she's 3 months old. What do you got, like little kid, like smaller scalpels? And he goes, no, we use just regular size. And the surgery was supposed to take like 6 to 7 hours. And I think at 3 hours, he walked out. And I remember looking at him and saying, you're not supposed to be here. And he said, we're done. It's all good, and she's got a normal, happy, healthy life. She's married. And so I think that, there's something that watches over us. And the miracle was that, Emily made it through all this. And the miracle was this doctor who invented the surgery. And there's nothing worse than any parent out there who's had to put their kid through any kind of surgery knows that there's a moment where you're with your kid and you get to those doors and they go, you got to wait here. Right. And you don't know if you're going to see them alive again. You don't know if they're going to be normal. I think miracles happen every day. And I think sometimes we as a society, we become so jaded that we don't tend to see those miracles for what they are. When you get into something like the Children's Miracle Network, you get to see exactly what miracles are. That's something special. And I'm glad as the older I get, the more open my eyes are to these things.
I know that there's 11 million parents out there who have children at a children's hospital, and I love how you can relate with them because you lived in their shoes.
Right.
For those, 3 hours during that surgery. What might you say to a parent?
I think everybody deals with things in their own way. If they asked me my advice, I would say you got to believe in some kind of higher being to watch over. You got to believe in the doctor. You got to believe in, I don't want to say you just take everything that they say at face value. You got to, ask the questions. That I think sometimes people are afraid to ask questions of doctors because like they're afraid they're going to offend them or something. But you got to remember that's your child. I also tell people don't be afraid to get a second opinion. They're humans. I think everybody tends to forget that sometimes that doctors are humans.
And in all of the miracles I've witnessed the last 20 years at Children's Miracle Network hospitals, I have seen parents know that no, that's not the right thing for my child. They have a gut intuition and figure out what is best. So yeah, I agree. I think that we have to do everything we can for our child, and lots of times that is asking.
Yeah, and a lot of times, you sometimes in that situation, it's hard because you're trying to think of everything, and yet the overriding thought is, I just want my kid to be good and okay.
Speaking of that, we have the most amazing doctors that provide the most specialized care at our facilities. So it is unbelievable when you walk down the halls of a children's hospital and you see these families that are being taken care of, not just the child, but the families. They want to take care of everyone. So it really is great what these hospitals provide. So I want to go back to miracles. Was it a miracle that you made it to the finals on Dancing with the Stars, or was that a lot of hard work and preparation with Emma Slater that got you there? Tell me about your experience on Dancing with the Stars.
Well, it was a miracle I got past week 1. That was one of those experiences in life that, I was not going to do it. Gail said, I think you should do this. It's, and it turns out, it was a great decision.
Had they asked you more than once?
No.
Okay, so you actually said yes on the first time.
I said, I was kind of talking to him, and Gail's like, I think you should do this, and
you're not the one on stage that has to go perform the number.
But I didn't know what I was getting into. So I figured it's dancing. How tough can this be? And I was wrong there. It was one of the most brutal things I've ever been through. But if they called me today and said, we want you for next week, I'd do it again. It wasn't my dancing that got me to the finals. I think what people saw, and it's a heavily female demographic that watches that show. I think what they really were, I don't know if impressed was a word or thought it was sweet or whatever, but I'm dancing with this little 24-year-old smoking hot British girl. But at the end of the dance, I ran over and kissed this 55-year-old woman. And I actually miss it because A, it was a great workout, and B, it was fun because I was doing something that was so not in my comfort zone.
Well, I am a big fan of the show. I've watched it probably all of the seasons, and I'm always fascinated, first of all, that someone will willingly sign up for this because it looks like it kills you. And then to get on stage and there's millions of people watching you, I'm like, how are you not freaking out?
Oh, you are.
That you have to remember every step that you just learned. And what if you have a misstep? Like, I'm just amazed that you could remember the dance and do it on live TV in front of everyone.
The one tip that was given to me that was probably the most helpful was they said, no matter what happens, don't stop moving. They said, if you stop, then they know something's wrong. But if you just keep moving, there was a lot of dances, I just kept moving.
Hi, I'm Kristen Bell. When my kids fall down, I treat them with kisses and colorful Band-Aids. But when kids are really sick, I'm glad there are children's hospitals to help. Put your money where the miracles are. Give to your Children's Miracle Network Hospital.
Today we have a very special guest, my good friend Bill Engvall. Well, speaking of miracles again, I want to know, was there a big miracle in your career, a big break that you got that helped you go achieve your dream? Because I know you started as a DJ, right?
Well, not really. My DJing, I probably shouldn't say it on this wonderful network. It was not the most proud moment of my life. Let's just say girls were dancing with nothing on. And I was playing a lot of Van Halen and AC/DC. But yeah, listen, in my life, in my career, there's been a lot of miracles. I think probably the one that really, people say, was it the Tonight Show or your first getting your first sitcom? Actually, the thing that really I think helped me the most, and it was a miracle, was when I won in 1991. I won the Best Male Stand-Up at the American Comedy Awards, and I was in a group that if you looked at the group, you went, no, he's an also-ran. And I think that was what kind of helped me get the confidence that I knew I could do what I'm doing, because up until that point, I really never thought of it as a job. It was, it was just kind of a cool hobby that I was making money at. And when they called my name as the winner, Gail and I both got a look on our face that only trailer park people get when they see a UFO. It was just like, we were like, what? I mean, it literally took us a second for it to register that they just called my name. And I remember when I went up and Joan Rivers gave me the trophy, and I looked at the audience and I said, I know you're out there thinking, who the hell's Bill Engvall? Because nobody knew. I was just a club comic, and I hadn't done anything. And so, but that was the thing, I think, for me, in my mind, was the thing that really propelled me personally to continue to do what I'm doing.
What has been one of the most fulfilling moments of your entire career? Maybe a moment on stage where you're like, yes, this is why I do this.
It was a moment that happened in Detroit. I found this out post fact, that a woman had come to my show at this club in Detroit, and she wrote a letter to the club owner and said, I don't remember his name, but he was the last guy on the show, and that would have been me. She said, that day I had been diagnosed with terminal cancer. And I came to the show, and he was funny, and I laughed, and I went back the next day, and they told me I'd been misdiagnosed. So she said, telling me cures cancer. Now, I didn't cure her cancer, but, for that 45 minutes to an hour, I made her forget the worst news you can get. And that was a real moment in my career when I realized, you're doing something special here. So I sometimes I think that young comedians don't understand that. What you do on stage does affect people. I take it very seriously. If it sounds weird to say, I take comedy very seriously in the sense that I always want to do the best I can do. It's a very rewarding job, but it can also be a very stressful job.
Yes, and I love how Gail has been this amazing supporter in your life, especially you go back to the story of you literally moved while she was pregnant. What has her support meant to you? There's
no price tag or no amount of jewelry or whatever is going to be able to pay back what she's done for me, because we started out as really good friends, and then we became best friends, and then we fell in love. And actually, I was already in love, but she fell in love later. She was just a little slow. She's always been. And she's always there, whether it's telling me, you need to do this, you need to back off of this. And sometimes that's hard to take when it's criticism. But I know she's doing it because she believes in what I'm doing. I think she believed in me long before I did. I mean, I can only imagine what her parents thought when she said, I'm marrying a comedian who's never been on stage before. I'm sure they're thinking, well, we'll be supporting them for the rest of our lives. She lets me do what I do, and then she reins me in when I need to be reined in, because I tend to get a little crazy. But she's always there, and she's not afraid to stand up and say, I think you're being a jackass here. And like I said, sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow, but I know she's not ever doing it just to be mean. It's just because she wants me to be the best at what I can do, what she knows I can do. And sometimes I don't believe in myself as much as she does.
Right. Well, I think you failed to mention that she's an amazing golfer and she's taught you how to golf.
No, that's completely wrong. Although I will tell you a funny story about her golf. We were playing golf one day and she goes, why do you get so mad? Because I used to get really mad at playing golf. And she goes, why do you get so mad? And I'm like, just whatever. And then she started getting better. And one day she cussed on I'm like, why are you cussing? Why are you getting so mad about it? It's like, but yeah, she's fun to go. That's the thing that's very cool is, it's fun to go play golf with her. Or it's fun to go camping with her.
So it sounds like Gail is an amazing miracle in your life.
Okay, enough about her.
Is there anyone else in your life that really helped you create a miracle? I mean, you mentioned winning this award back in 1991. Was there another person that really stepped in your life when you needed them and helped create a miracle?
My dad, I know everybody says their dad, but there was a moment in Gail and I's marriage. Emily, I think, was 2. And Gail had gotten pregnant again. She had had a tubal pregnancy before. I forget the medical term of what they do, a hysterectomy or something like that. Anyway, and we were going to go home to Texas for Christmas. And we went to the doctor, her OBGYN, and he just wanted to check everything out because she was still showing pregnancy numbers. And I remember looking at the whatever the little thing they do, the ultrasound, and I said, well, what's that? And he goes, oh, that's probably just some scar tissue or something. Well, it turns out it was another baby that was in the other tube. So we went home, and the other tube, she'd already lost one, so the other tube broke. And Christmas weekend in Abilene, Texas, she's on the floor of the bathroom screaming. We take her to the emergency room. There's an intern on job and on duty, and there was one guy who was dead of a heart attack, another guy was having a heart attack. There was a lady with a sore throat who was the loudest and most obnoxious. And then there was Gail, who was just laying there, and when she was laying down, she was fine. But what was happening in real time was she was bleeding to death internally. This was talk about one of these weird miracle things, and I'll get to my dad's thing. The intern called the OBGYN at the hospital, which was, by the way, was the same hospital that Gail was born in. And the OBGYN guy said, well, just keep an eye on her. Something in his head or heart or whatever told him he should go in and look at this case that was Gail. And he drove to the hospital on the Christmas weekend, took a look at Gail and grabbed the gurney and ran down the hall. And, she was there and then she was gone. And so I found a hospital room that was empty, and I sat in there and I was crying, and I called my dad, and I said, I don't want to be the man anymore. This wasn't in the handbook. And he just said, you know what? You got to have faith in the doctor and faith in God, and that everything will be all right. And sure enough, it was. They got her all fixed up, and I didn't have to go home and tell my 2-year-old daughter that Mommy wasn't coming home anymore. And so there's been an untold number of miracles in my life.
I do recognize as well that there's so many miracles that happen every day. It's a miracle that we're alive. It's a miracle that we could just breathe and we don't have to think about it. Like, everything is crazy. And I just thank you so much for coming and sharing your story on our podcast. As you know, we love you, and we are so grateful for your continued support of what you do to help these 11 million children treated at our children's hospitals across the country. And I want to ask you one question. And if you could create 3 miracles in the world right now, today, what would that look like for you?
That I could shoot 70 on the golf course. No.
Okay, 1. You got 2 more.
I got 2 more.
Use them wisely.
I guess my mirror for me would be that my children find the same kind of partner that I found, and that they have a long and happy marriage, and that they have healthy children, and that they are able to enjoy life like I've been able to enjoy it. And my other miracle would be that that people just start realizing that you're only on this place for a short time in the grand scheme of things, and that maybe it's time that we all start taking a moment just to kind of realize what we have, and not worry so much about what your neighbor's got, and just look at your house and look at your kids and see enjoy what you appreciate what has been given to you, as opposed to always worrying about what somebody else has.
Well, thank you so much. And I just want to remind people that they can listen to your podcast.
My 2 cents.
And do you do a weekly interview?
We do 2 a week. and we're going to be continue to do more. So hopefully we're going to get you on one of our podcasts here real quick. And it's a lot of fun. It's like when I do my stand-up show, it's very much I have an outline of what I'm going to do. And the reason I called the podcast My 2 Cents is that's what it is. I mean, we talk about everything. We've interviewed a guy who thinks he can channel an alien from another planet to a guy who thinks weed ought to be legal all across the United States. So we talk about anything and everything, and Gail's on there once in a while to help me with stuff and talk about things that we both are interested in, and it's a lot of fun.
Is there anything else that's going on right now that you would like people to tune into? Can they go to your website to find out where your tour dates are?
You can go to my website to donate for me running for president. I figure I got as good a chance as anybody. You can go to billengvall.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at Bill Engvall, and my Facebook page is Bill Engvall. And it lists all the things, and the new special's out on Vudu called Just Selling for Parts, so check it out.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week. Have a great day.
I got a good feeling.